Hello, teacher Anne. Why did you become a teacher?
Good evening.
Yeah.
I have several reasons why I chose to be a teacher.
Mhm.
Primarily,
Mhm.
I love reaching out to different kinds of people, and one way to interact is by becoming a teacher. Another is I love the English language. So it's my way for me to impart my knowledge and at the same time to get to know different kinds of foreigners.
What subjects do you usually teach?
Since I work here in Chapis department, we get to teach all kinds of modular tests. They are IELTS, TOEIC, TOEFL, and ESL as well. There are some challenges when it comes to teaching those modular tests because you have to strategize in them. However, the more that we are given some, difficult subjects, the more that we can enhance our teaching skills. So I just try to challenge myself, learn to research on how to better my ways or methods of teaching, and then I can say, that's it. I get to improve.
What is rewarding about teaching
I mentioned
students?
that I love to reach out to some people who are really in need of my skills or my help. When I teach students and I get to realize their goals in life, what's rewarding is you impart them something that is not easily robbed, that is knowledge, and they acquire the language, the English language, and it's not just about learning, technicalities like grammar, vocabulary, but what is rewarding is they say they are grateful after, we finish the course, and they are just so appreciative of your effort. I think that's the best thing about this job.
Please tell me the good and bad points of Japanese students.
Let me just talk about the good sides or the good points of Japanese students. I've been teaching Japanese students for a long time. I started in 2007. We didn't really have a lot of Japanese students back then here in PIA. However, one thing I got to notice about Japanese is they are really so keen on learning the language. I find them really serious when it comes to studying. They are so diligent enough to even memorize a lot of vocabulary words. They would do side researches, and they don't really complain a lot when you ask them to do some laborious work like writing and researches. I also find them really, passive. Passive in a way that is good because as a teacher, you want them to accept whatever you want them to say, or you want them to know. But of course, I have to be sure that what I teach them is credible and reputable. And, it's like they don't complain. If you give them some assignments, they do it without any rants. So I think those are the positive or the merits of Japanese students. With the demerits, I can say that, being passive as well will reflect some negativity. Why? Because if I ask them something and they didn't have any complaints about it, I could say that they don't have any sense of individuality, or they don't have the sense of having their opinion. So they just say yes. They are so affirmative. Sometimes I want them to say no or argue a little because other nationalities they do their best to debate about some topics, and that enhances the classroom setting. So but nowadays I can say that the millennials, Japanese millennials, are becoming more open to the world, and to their points of views are becoming more contemporary. So I can say that they're somehow becoming more open-minded, and they try to, you know, sometimes become how can I say that?
Yeah, maybe. It's
They
okay.
try to become more critical.
What is your aim in teaching students?
I can say that I always have this goal of becoming an inspiration to people whom I touch. Students are just like my children, and the aim is not just to finish my job or to fulfill whatever the course asks me to do. The aim is still to impart them whatever knowledge I can without limits, because actually what also gives me delight is when my students try to tell me, you know, that they are so thankful for me, because I am strict and I check, you know, not just whatever the subject demands, because I make sure that everything is polished. So the goal is to teach them and to bring about an improved person before they go back home or before we even finish the term. And for me, you know, it always reflects whatever the student gets. It brings me down if I feel like my student has not improved, or if the student has this, you know, misunderstanding of some subjects. It always comes back to me, so I make sure that I always have a target. I always have an aim for every class that is given to me.
What is the best way to enhance one's speaking skill in English?
You know, I myself have trained, you know, myself for a long time since I was in elementary. I've loved English the way I love eating. So, you know, all I can say is you have to expose yourselves to a social circle which will give you the chance or the probability to communicate using the language without any delimitations. You know, you have to make some friends, but of course, not everyone is maybe credible to, you know, to be friends. However, you know, if you know the technicality of the language, like learning the basics of grammar and memorizing some vocabulary, and then after that, supplementing by, you know, reading and exposing yourselves to some audio files, and at the same time, carrying out what you have learned by communicating directly to people of any walks of life. I think that would be the best thing. So speaking, having someone to talk to, having a buddy that you can talk to, you know, without any hesitations. You can start by, you know, telling a story about yourself. It would be like, you know, having a friend whom you want to, you know, whom you want to listen to, and you want to tell a narrative story of yourself every day. But of course, I'm not saying that it should just be about speaking. You also have to enhance yourself with getting updated with some useful expressions. So it would be advisable if you do some researches, memorize some patterns, I think, watch some movies, and try to shadow how native speakers use the language, and at the same time, you know, practically use them. That would be the best.
Could you give any messages to people who have not decided to study abroad
Those
yet?
people who are planning to embark on a study abroad, you know, coming here to the Philippines would be, you know, a basic one before moving to native speaking countries. I think if you want to practice your fundamentals, like your basic structures, it would be best if you come here in the Philippines. I would say that Baguio City is a very conducive place in learning, and you know, learning the language would open your horizon. It's not only about globalization, it's also about making yourself progressive, because nowadays I can say that a person who is successful is someone who has the proficiency in speaking the English language. It's not just about whatever, you know, it's not just about having a career that imposes you to speak the language, but it's about having the ability to communicate to anyone, to any parts of the world. And this would be your start. So don't be afraid to come and start learning the English language. It would make you go a very long way. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.